I spent 8 years of my life and over $60,000 on college, and I didn't graduate. Let me tell you about why I decided to go to college and what I'd do differently looking back at it. So, this all started back in high school. I was a junior going into senior year, and as you all probably know, having most of you, I would assume, have been through high school already. When you're at the end of your junior year is when they start talking to you about what colleges you're going to go to. I sat down with my guidance counselor and had that discussion, even though I was averaging about a D plus for my GPA. So I wasn't necessarily the best candidate for college. And he sat me down and told me right to my face that I wasn't going to college and I might as well pick a trade, and that was going to be my life. Now, looking back at this, I would have probably framed it differently if I was him, because it could have really inspired me in a different direction, saying something along the lines of like, I think you'd make a great entrepreneur. You should start your own business, as opposed to letting me think that I had to go be a plumber or a carpenter. And no hate on plumbers or carpenters. You guys make a boatload of money. But as a junior or senior in high school, I wasn't thinking about that as some sort of glorious profession to live my life. Now, the problem that arose from this is that he pissed me off. I was looking at this man sitting across from me who was a guidance counselor at a high school saying that I basically wasn't going to be shit. And it really frustrated me. So I said, you know what? Screw this guy. I'm going to college no matter how long it takes me. And it took a while. I didn't actually start taking classes in community college until I was 26 years old. I worked in restaurants. I started bartending. When I was bartending, I finally had enough disposable income where I could work part-time and start taking classes on the side. And that's where the student loans kicked in. They tell you that you can take these student loans to go ahead and go to college, but they don't tell you that there's a certain amount of money that they're going to give you for the student loans. And because I couldn't manage to take more than 2 classes at a time without failing all 3, then I was basically capped at doing 2 classes at a time and doing as best as I could in them. And I was doing fairly well. I was getting, B's and C's, getting passing grades, getting on to the next course. I was really excited about that. Now, at the same time, I started talking to my bar customers about what they did in school and what they did for work. And what I was finding out through talking with a lot of these people is most of them, this is on their lunch break, I'm kind of like interviewing them. Most of them were saying, I hate my job, or I don't really have time to talk about this because I have to get back to work. They're grabbing a to-go box for their food as soon as their food was delivered, and they were eating, stuffing their face right back out the door. But what I found was there was a couple guys specifically that came down and had like 2 and 3 hour long lunches hanging out together. With talking with these guys over time and getting to know them a little bit better, I found out that they were both entrepreneurs. They had pretty good sized businesses that enabled them to be downstairs at the pizza pub I was working at, having a few beers, enjoying their lunch, and everybody else was out working for them at the same time, and turn allowed them to free up their time. And that's when I had that aha moment. I realized what I had been trying to learn from people like Robert Kiyosaki, that starting a business was a much better way to create a living. And I realized that that was the path that I wanted to take. So as opposed to dropping out of school right then and saving myself probably $40,000, I decided to shift my major to accounting and finance, because I said, if I want to learn about running a business, I need to know how money works. And what I found from that is also not true, because if you own a business, you actually hire people that know how to do that stuff for you. You don't actually learn to do it yourself unless you want to be the jack of all trades and run your business and be busy for 18 hours a day. That wasn't necessarily a good idea either. Fast forward a few more years, and I was now getting close to my junior year. I had switched schools. I was at a university now as opposed to the community college. I made some good friends. I've had some fun, spent a lot of money. I was now probably at $45,000 in costs, because not only was I taking the student loan to pay for my courses, but I was also taking out extra to help pay for the gap in my earning because I wasn't working full time. And that's where it really got me. Give me another 2 years. Now I'm entering into the middle of my junior year, and I go down to sign up for classes one day, and the administration lady, whatever you want to call her, looked at me and said, and how will you be paying this quarter or this semester? And I said, student loans. And she looked at my information and said, son, you are out of student loans. And I was like, what are you talking about? And apparently I had run out of road with my student loan. So at this point, I would have had to start taking private loans and get co-signers from family members to actually finish my schooling. That's when I said, all right, well, I guess I made a good run at it. I walked out and I never looked back. Now, in the beginning of this video, I said I would let you know what I would do looking back at this if I could have done it differently. What I would have done differently is taken the advice from my guidance counselor back in high school, but I would have hopefully asked him to frame it differently, or I would have perceived it differently. What he was saying to me is, you have the skills of somebody that can work for themselves. You have that ADHD power that makes a great entrepreneur. And what they don't tell you in high school is ADHD is actually a superpower. It's not a disability like they keep telling you. If you have ADHD, you would make a freaking awesome entrepreneur. So keep that in mind. If you want to do a lot of stuff and you move really quick and you think really quick and everybody says slow down all the time, that's entrepreneur thoroughbred. That's what you are. What I would have done if I could have gone back in time and saved myself that 60 some odd $1,000 that I now owe to the government is that I would have started a business. I loved the idea of working for myself. I didn't know what I wanted to do at that point, so I was kind of all over the place. And that's where I kind of really got hung up. So now there's a big difference between me back then, which was about 2012, and you today. Today, we have a very vastly different internet and social media reality. You can go on YouTube like I'm doing today and start building a personal brand. Or say you want to have more of a traditional business. I'm sure you guys have all seen the videos of the guy who mows lawns for people and just knocks on their door and does it for free. He's grown a massive social media following out of just cutting people's grass. I have a friend who owns a garage and he works on cars. I told him, you know what you should start doing? You should start filming all the different things that you're fixing on these cars and putting it on YouTube, and you can generate a whole bunch of extra money. If you consider yourself a blue collar type of guy and you're thinking about getting into the trades, you can also pair that with social media and quadruple your earnings, if not more, and then maybe even start teaching people how you started a business in that particular field. So the main thing you need to understand when you're starting a business is that you need to figure out the problem that you want to solve. There are a million different problems that are out there, and there are some of them that you would actually be very, very good at solving. If you could figure out a problem that needs to be solved and something that you could see yourself doing on a daily basis and helping solve for people, then that is where your business lies. I chose YouTube and social media and personal branding because there's nothing I love more than helping other people start businesses. That's my passion. That's what gets me really excited. That's what I told to my nephew as he was graduating high school. I said, you should go and work as a welder, because he really likes welding and things along those lines. You should go and work with a welder and learn the skill, and in the next 5 years start your own business. If you have your own business as a welder, you can make an ass ton of money. And I'm trying to explain this to the young guy, and he kind of got it, kind of didn't. If you have a passion for something, go and apprentice for a little while and then start a business in that field. But the number one thing I want you to keep in mind, and this is what makes all the difference in the world, is you want to create a business that you can escape from. So you have to be very careful in the businesses that you choose. You can be a welder, you can be a landscaper, you can run a garage, but what you have to do is you have to have a plan in place as to where you're going to have these employees and eventually have a manager running that business for you, so you can actually go and be with your family. Because there's nothing worse than when you own a restaurant or you own a business or you own something like that and it demands all your time to be able to keep it going. That's why restaurants are so difficult, because it puts so much strain on the family, because you have to be there almost all the time. Now, in my personal opinion, I think the best business to start today is to create essentially a mini college of yourself. You have a couple of skill sets. Think of it this way. You have a couple skill sets that you can help people solve a problem. Now, as opposed to going and teaching these people one-on-one how to solve that problem, you do something like I'm doing right here, and you go online and you post that content for the entire world to see. Now, as you do that, you're going to start growing a following. It's going to be like me. It's going to start small, and then eventually it's going to get bigger. But when you look at this, you can't say, all right, if I can't do this in 3 months, I'm going to quit. No, you have to say, this is going to take me 5 to 10 years. Think about, how can I create a business that will allow me to live the life of my dreams? And then you can just keep on working it forever, essentially, until you just feel like not working anymore. And then you can take some time off. But that is my best advice for you. If you are thinking about going to college right now, or you are in college, or you are somebody like me that had that same college experience where you went for way too long, you spent way too much money, and then you ended up with nothing to show for it. And it's not really that you ended up with nothing. I had a lot of experiences. I met a lot of teachers that really changed me and influenced some of the directions that I was going. But in terms of college degree, where I can actually show that to employers, I don't have that. I can say I went to college, didn't graduate. The best thing about this is that in today's day and the way things are right now, college is becoming less and less important to employers. What they're actually looking for is your ability to learn. Can they hire you, and can you pick it up fast enough to understand what they need from you, whether it be sales or marketing or anything like that. They're actually going to look at your personal portfolio and say, okay, this person has proven that they have the ability to do this work. College degree doesn't necessarily prove that you're able to do that work at all. It just proves that you're able to be a good employee. And I don't have any desire to be a good employee. I have a great desire to be an awesome entrepreneur, though. If anybody's watching this, I think that is the path that you should take, on top of all the tax benefits that you get of being an entrepreneur as well, which is something to think of. Having write-offs is really powerful. With that said, I think that becoming an entrepreneur is in your wheelhouse. If you're watching this and you're thinking about it, or if you're on your way, the biggest thing I can tell you is just stay consistent and don't set too short of a timeline or a runway for yourself. Give yourself 5 to 10 years to be successful at it, and you're going to see the results. If you try to say, I'm going to do this in 6 months or 1 year, I think you're going to be disappointed. Giving yourself enough time is going to really give you the ability to learn the craft and grow in the skill and grow the audience and grow the income and all that stuff combined. Thank you guys for watching today. I'll be back tomorrow with another video, and I hope you have a great day.